Tony accidentally bumped into a passing female CEO, but he unexpectedly discovered that her father was about to die, and had only 3 seconds left to live. The CEO thought Tony was cursing her father, and was about to teach him a lesson, when suddenly, her father spit out a mouthful of blood, then collapsed to the ground, fainting unconscious. The CEO was shocked that Tony could diagnose the condition just by looking at him, and even pinpointed the exact timing. She hurriedly begged Tony to save her father. Tony gently shook his head. The woman deeply bowed, introducing herself as the CEO of the group, and promised, if he could save her father, she would do anything for him. Hearing that she was the CEO, Tony thought about how his wife's company had financial troubles because of the obstruction from the first group, so Tony made a request. As long as she stopped blocking his wife's company, and injected funds into it, he might save her father's life. The CEO immediately ordered her subordinates to stop the obstruction, and injected $1 billion into her company. That night, a signing ceremony was held at a restaurant. Seeing how readily she agreed to his terms, Tony immediately performed a mysterious spell, which he then placed into the old man's body. The spell temporarily held his soul, preventing his body from dying. He warned the woman not to remove the spell, or no one could save her father, and requested the CEO personally attend the signing ceremony that evening. Once the ceremony was over, he would save her father. Not long after, Tony arrived at his wife's company. When his wife saw Tony, she was stunned for a moment, but then immediately asked for a divorce. Tony couldn't believe his ears. But just then, the secretary told him that the first group had just stopped obstructing them, and even agreed to inject $1 billion into their company. As the boss of a listed company, no one with a criminal record could stay. His wife then handed him a bank card, offering to buy out their relationship. Looking at the bank card, Tony couldn't hold back anymore, and revealed the truth behind the first group stopping the obstruction. To his surprise, a wealthy man nearby looked down on him, saying that he was a young master from a powerful family, and the first group stopped obstructing them because of his face. Seeing how his wife completely believed this, Tony realized that his contribution had been stolen. Feeling disheartened, he signed the divorce agreement on the spot. Seeing this, his wife was overjoyed. Seeing his wife's heartlessness, he swore that tonight he would make her understand how huge a mistake it was to abandon him. What she didn't know was that Tony was actually an immortal cultivator from 500 years in the future. In his previous life, he had cultivated for 500 years and became a sword immortal, but just as he reached the peak of immortality, he was betrayed, and had no choice but to use reincarnation to return to 500 years in the past. At this point, Tony was still an ordinary servant in a gang. Just then, a group of mercenaries barged in, but Tony raised his hand and wiped out the world's #1 mercenary group. The local thug was so impressed he bowed down to Tony, and insisted on recognizing Tony as his boss. Thus, Tony easily gained control over the thug. After completing all this, Tony was ready to go find his wife, but was abandoned by her. Unknowingly, she missed her greatest opportunity in this life. Soon, the time arrived for the meeting with the female CEO. Tony went to the designated place, but his ex-wife thought Tony had come to beg her, and warned him not to disrupt the signing event at her company. He sneered and said, if he left, the signing ceremony couldn't proceed. At this moment, everyone was in shock. A prisoner dared to say such things. Some even laughed out loud, mocking him as a useless person. How dare he act all high and mighty here? Seeing Tony still not leave, his ex-wife directly called the security guards, wanting to break his legs. Seeing that no one believed him, he called the female CEO, ordering her to come to the scene. Otherwise, her father wouldn't be saved. Everyone thought he was just putting on an act, and that he hadn't even reached the female CEO, ordering the bodyguards to take action. But just then, the female CEO suddenly arrived.